Good morning and welcome to the Friday Grief Chat. And Jill and Deb are in the house together.
We are, and good afternoon, Illinoisans and Central Time Zone people. And good afternoon later if you're on the Eastern
You're
Seaboard.
sliding right into
Yeah.
margarita hour in the East Coast, folks.
Oh my gosh. And some bad weather, I think. Yeah, we had
Aren't
that
you
last
having a
night.
significant weather change right now?
Oh yeah, it's a lot chillier than it's been. And
Yeah.
frankly, I like it better, but that's me. Um, I'm having a significant everything, and I just have to talk about my loss, and then I'm going to
Yes.
mention yours
Tell
right
yours.
now. So, everybody, a couple different things. I was thinking about what losses, and I thought of Jill this week because not only lost like body losses, because this is like the fifth or sixth time with COVID. I'm like, what do they have a Wuhan lab in her house? What the
Only
heck?
the second with COVID, just a whole bunch of
Yeah,
illness losses.
different
Yeah.
things.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
for as long as I've known her, this is like the second or third cruise that she's had to cancel. And then she just told me, actually, it's the fifth cruise they've had to cancel. And
High
they
five for Jill.
times five. And this is like, I don't know if anybody in our listening audience ever had such a time plan. I know twice I had an overseas planned, and either an illness of somebody I was traveling with, or hey, I couldn't go to Uganda because they were killing gay people. And my mother, yeah, sometimes she is, my daughter said, better
Mm-mm.
disappointed than dead, mom, because, I'm a strong advocate here, and, nobody knows what I am, and I like it that
And
way.
they're still doing it.
And they're still killing gay people in
Mhm.
Uganda. So there was my dream of going and working on an AIDS clinic, flush down the toilet. So
Yeah.
this is five times of a loss. And how, maybe because you're experienced with it, but every time it still goes, I would be swearing, not on camera, but I would be swearing. How about you? How are you coping with that?
There has been some swearing, there have been some tears, there has been sadness.
Mhm.
Um, we have one more cruise scheduled this year, and I think we're going to like hide the luggage from the house and
Yeah,
like pay someone to take it out to the car or something to make sure that it doesn't somehow the fates don't get tipped off.
I
But
sent you some smudging things.
I
Please
yes,
smudge it.
I'm gonna smudge everything. I The house has been washed now within an inch of its life, much to Stacy's consternation because she still can't breathe, and she was testing positive as of yesterday after day 20. Um, but bleach on the floor and Lysol on everything else, and bleach in the bath. It's just because the first time I had COVID was 2020, and I was here alone because she was working in the morgue in New York.
Right.
So she didn't get COVID then. This is her first go round. But yeah, it's been a lot. We I had a trip to Italy planned in 2014 on a cruise, a charter cruise as well, and Taste of Italy, kind of like Deb's trip she just did, but on a boat. And I had a stroke instead, and could not travel because medical people didn't manage it well. We'll
Hmm.
just put it that way. And then in 2015, we were supposed to go on a cruise, four of us, and one of our other cruise companions had a massive stroke. So we decorated her ICU room with porthole pictures from ships. Turns out you can order those on Amazon, of course. So
Great.
we decorated her whole ICU room as a cruise, and the staff thought we were crazy. We were, but it worked out well. And we cruised together in ICU. And then we had a COVID shutdown when we did the scheduled the replacement for that cruise. And then last year, Stacy and I got all the way to Europe, and we got to see England for the first time since I was 14, 15. But the whole time we were there, we were getting really disturbing phone calls from my mom, about my mom, from the vet, about our dog Doug. And we got on the Eurostar and we got to Amsterdam. And I gotta say, it was already feeling not okay. And then there was this massive storm that was so big that when we came out of the train station in Amsterdam, our hoods got pulled back by the wind and we got slammed into the wall of the train station. And yeah, so we decided to call the agent and said, if you can get us home where that tells us we need to go. And he called back an hour later and said, go to the airport, you're on a flight. And we came home, and Mom died not 2 months later. And Doug did too, the same week. And then this time I went and did my civil required jury duty, and our jury room apparently is sanitized, but only at night. And it has big, beautiful, historic windows that do not open. And to get to the jury room, you have to go through a crowd of, I want to say 5 courtrooms crammed into this corner. So there's literally dozens to 100 people out there, many of whom have just been released from custody. And you have to stand in line between all of them to get into the jury room. And then we were locked in from 8:30 to 4:30 with 250 of our new friends, and no air exchange and no sanitation. And
there you go.
That was it. Goodbye Easter, goodbye cruise. We did get our drugs, but then that caused the bounce back effect that only 10% get, but all 3 of us got it. So you're welcome. 2 other people, you did not get bounce back because we covered it for you, all 3 of us. I had 1 day negative in the middle of it. My daughter had 2 days negative. Stacy had no days negative.
So it's 3 days of positivity for Stacy.
She's been sick since the day after Easter.
Yes.
I got sick on Easter. Carrie got sick within 3 hours of Stacy. And I am finally negative as of 2 days ago. And so is Carrie, and Stacy's still positive. But we're all still feeling like we've been run over by a locomotive.
Yes. And then there's the, as you age by decades, it can take longer.
It can, and it can be more serious.
And yes, so.
And I already had COVID in 2020, which caused some damage.
Yes.
So we tried to get some more meds, and they kept saying no. And one nurse practitioner said, good luck. We'll see you on the other side. You'll be fine. And then I emailed like 5 days later and said, so I can't breathe and we're worse. And one of them said, wait, you're still sick?
Yep.
So now I'm on prednisone, and that really works if you've got lung conditions.
Yes. And it also messes with your sleep schedule.
What sleep schedule?
Exactly my point.
Yes.
So
yes.
Still, it's sort of like you go and go and go, you're getting ready to go, and then like someone pulled the brake car in a fast moving train. We've all seen that on TV. And then there's like you're slammed up against the wall from pulling the brake. There's no just slowing down. It's like
no.
Emotionally, you're slammed backwards. Mm-hmm. And then you have to get like recentered and say, okay. And in your case, and a lot of people, it's their first time. But when it happens and you don't know what to do, you go, okay, I need to recenter. which happens all the time in any kind of loss.
Where is my center? Where do I
Where
find
is,
it? How do I take better care of myself?
or if it's not because you're ill, it's because I need to hold on to something.
Right.
And
Exactly
then
right.
I need to move forward, but I don't know how to move forward. So you take a step, and it's sort of like you've seen them in Indiana Jones movies, like there's an invisible thing to catch you, but you don't see it. So you step out and you hope you don't go down. And
Right.
that happens in every kind of loss, but especially when that train slams you backwards.
Exactly right. And there really is part of the recentering is which works in all kinds of grief
Right.
is the same stuff I do when I have a loss of someone that I love.
Exactly.
It's outside time. Amazon is wonderful. They bring me my bird seed. So we've been going through 25 pounds of bird seed a week. And we have an amazing array of little friends in our backyard.
Yes.
And we ordered a puzzle. I don't know what possessed us to order the Tree of Life
Oh, I'm
puzzle that
hearing that.
you are, and it's a circular one. That's the one. Yes, yes. And except ours is not that simple. Ours
Yes.
is very complicated and
Yeah.
round.
Yes.
But we're working on a puzzle, and in between crime binge watching, which kind of touches on the grief and allows it to come forward and
That's
allows us
right.
to talk
That's
about
right.
it,
That's right.
right? And then occasionally, you know what? We should be on a cruise. We should have something yummy. Let's Grubhub this puppy
Yeah.
and let's do
Yeah.
something that takes care of us, because you really do have to acknowledge that there has been a loss, and things need to be acknowledged, and that kind of thing. It's important.
Yep. I I don't. Oh, who's that?
This is Fred, and
Fred.
Fred has become way more needy since he
Huh?
realized that mom is not leaving. So,
Oh, yes.
yeah, that's been the other. We're gonna have some retraining to do when this is all over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Our cat, when we came home, first there's the obligatory like, and then Toodle,
Uh-huh.
within a couple hours, he was all over us.
Oh, of course.
Oh, and has not, a week later, like this morning, I woke up and we don't let him sleep with us. And so he has a bed outside our door, and he was curled up in that just perfectly. And yeah, he's been still all over us a little more than usual.
These guys were glad to see the suitcases get put away, because we'd
Yeah.
had the suitcase. We really had to have the suitcase out with all of the beach gear, and all of that stuff was getting collected. The things you don't need every day before you travel, but that you
Right.
need, make sure you don't want to lose or forget.
Yeah. Forget. Yeah.
And that finally went and got put away until July, and he
Mhm.
followed that suitcase to the put away spot, and then
Oh.
I closed the door and he went, oh,
Oh,
you know.
poor guy.
That was his little grief moment. Is he didn't have to anticipate the loss anymore.
That's right.
Right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's been a lot. And we started this podcast because of COVID.
Yeah. Next month. No, not next month, but we started talking about it in May
Yeah.
or in April. I don't remember. And then June something, toward the end of June or very beginning of
We
July,
started
we
it.
started it.
Because there were so many people locked in and experiencing so many kinds of losses, and trying to navigate who are your people, and who's inside your little safety group and who's not, and all of that sort of thing. And here we are again.
Here we are again. Well, my losses. Well, so a couple things. Everybody here has heard Jill and I talk about Jill is celiac. I'm gluten sensitive, and had I was worried about eating out there.
In
So
Italy? Yeah.
I would experiment and see. So every day our host had biscotti, which lemon ginger. He left off. He didn't put in almonds.
Mhm.
So I started with that. I didn't have a problem at all. No pain.
Wow.
Okay, that's interesting. What's in this? Well, it's mixed with some cornmeal, which was really good. Then I go, oh dear God, these croissants, warm,
Oh,
chocolate filled. There was Nutella. I can't have that. And so we always make sure no almond or whatever. No pain. Absolutely none.
I'm
Then
so
about
glad for you.
4 days in, I said, well, I have to try Italian pizza. Italian pizza, first of all, we're in the northern part of Italy, and it's not as like spicy like a Chicago pizza. Not at all. So
My style.
plain. More. Oh,
Yes.
you like the Chicago pizza.
Oh no, I like the
With the plain.
plain, not spicy.
So margarita pizzas are very easy. They're just a little sauce with some mozzarella and I think a
Basil and tomato.
basil on it, a couple pieces. So I ate that. I ate more of the center, gave the crust to Daryl. He was having a salad or something. I didn't have a problem. There was no pain. And I was like, oh. And then I got a little more adventurous. I did have gluten-free pasta that our host cooked for us every evening. Mostly I ate a lot of the different type of salamis and the cheeses, but I also had these breadsticks
Mm.
that were really light and crispy. Like I joked, I could mainline those, right? Can you imagine me sticking a breadstick into my vein here? I mean, like, that's crazy.
If
All
you're
right.
celiac, folks, or gluten sensitive, you dream about stuff like
Dream
that
about, and I
because you
hadn't
can't
had
have
a
it.
breadstick in 6 years.
Right.
So, no problem at all with anything I ate. And gelato, of course, is just milk, and I did not have a problem with that. With that said, then we had special, like in those, oh, what are they called? Mocha pots. And I had coffee every day that way. I didn't have a lot of coffee because it was really robust and flavor
Oh, the
filled.
pictures, folks. If she hasn't put them on the Facebook group, the pictures of the coffee, it was like smell-o-vision.
So we're on our way home. And my taste buds were okay when we were traveling out there. Well, we never made it to Milan. We had to
Yeah.
land in France. Oh well. So anyway, I take a sip of the coffee I ordered, and audibly in a plane of 300, I go, ugh. And I'm just mortified that it came out like that. My friend, I think she held her nose so the water wouldn't squirt out. She couldn't stop laughing. And I go, we're not in Italy anymore.
And you didn't take Air Italia.
And then everything just taste bud wise went wah, wah. And
Yep.
it was horrible. And I just kept saying, we're not in Italy. Well, here was the saving grace. our host had sent us both home with a bag of the Cantucci, the biscotti that he made, lemon ginger. I didn't have a problem with that. I ate like 6 pieces in those 8 hours. I just was like, dear God, save me. Literally,
Right.
God, save my taste buds. And so we get home. It's really late. We just go to sleep. I sleep for 11 and a half hours, and Judy made extra strong coffee. And then I had my Ezekiel bread that I can't eat, sprouted wheat, and that was fine. I get here this week. I decide, okay, I'm going to see what happens if I have a croissant from a really good bakery here. 6 hours later, I'm in pain. I'm like, ow.
Never do that again.
No. So then it was Daryl's birthday this past Monday. So what I did is I went to an Italian delicatessen. And if it didn't say made in Italy, I didn't get it. And so I bought him several things, including I did buy listen to me, what a snob, a lower class of gelato. And I did buy him Spumoni ice cream to have. It's not called pistachio, it's called pistachio. And my taste buds were really, really hurting this week. The first thing I did when we went to the grocery store last Thursday is I did get Lavazza, an Italian roast, and I just made it extra strong, pour over. I didn't drip pot it, and I made it strong enough that I had to add just a little teeny. I add honey, and it was okay. And I'm drinking less coffee when I drink the Italian roast because it has that.
Has more to it.
Yeah. So the loss is a humorous loss. No one dies from this loss.
But it's real.
My taste buds. I can't have this anymore. And it really, I do think it's the flour. I think they have a special kind of flour, Italian flour, at this place. And so I'll talk to them about my dietary needs.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
living with any kind of autoimmune or dietary needs really does cause a different kind of loss for folks, and it really it has to be actively managed. I mean, Stacy's allergic to onions and coconut, so we can't get any food for her that's got any onion content.
That's right.
And so between that and gluten-free Jill, we're kind of a mess.
I have a friend who can't. I'm very careful. If I make chicken soup for her, it cannot have any carrots. Mm-hmm. She can't get canned anything because it has carrots in it.
Same with the onions. Yeah.
Oh, I have to tell you this one last thing. So I pretty much finished up the biscotti, yeah. And then I brought home chocolates. And there was dark chocolate and light, and I wanted to give them out to people, but I wanted some Italian chocolates.
Right.
I mean, it's from one of the most famous, I don't remember the name, places in Turin is where I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be sure, I had to look up the first ingredients, and they all have hazelnut as the first ingredient.
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't touch.
No Takari, the chocolates. I learned no touch because if you read my thing, Judy and I touched the Maserati. No Takari, So that was one. And then my daughter, I bought home some, I thought they were just biscotti, and I looked at the pictures. I thought I looked at the pictures. Anyway, it turns out that the other box that I gave her, I thought was hazelnut, and I knew I couldn't touch it. No, it was onion. So her mouth was all set for hazelnut. And she goes, these are awful. These are really awful. So today, while we're talking about humorous losses and disappointments, which sort of offsets the deeper losses that people are feeling.
Yeah.
And, I remember being so disappointed the 2 times I had to cancel overseas trips.
Yep.
And one of them we decided, well, we did go to London. Another time we went to Puerto Rico instead, which was a perfectly wonderful trip.
We're trying for Scandinavia next year and going with and taking Carrie in with our extra daughter Katrina. That's sort of in the plans, but again, I think we're going to just sort of sneak out of the country and like not. And part of what we've been binge watching is Border Control. There's shows about that, and so we've learned all the rules about what you can and can't bring back, and we've identified who in Norway and Sweden we want to meet at the border. So we've got a list of. Because you have to have some fun when you're locked in a house for 3 solid weeks. And that is part of having the humor of dealing with extra losses. I have been, as you've been talking about the food in Italy, I have been over-focused on the last thing I had in Europe as a real meal, which was we were at the airport in Amsterdam, and it was the middle of the night because we had to be there at 4. So we just gave up our hotel early and, what the hell? Let's just go to the airport and let's go see what Schiphol looks like. I know I'm massacring the name of it, but that is a massive airport and it's beautiful and lots of glass and they have automatic bag check. You scan your tag and this machine opens up and swallows your luggage. And it's super uber cool. And so we had time to, shop a little bit and because everything was open. It's one of the busiest airports in Europe. And then we found a walk-through cafe. And there was an array of gluten-free options. And I bought 3 sandwiches that were just fresh baked bread. You could smell the bread at the airport, folks. And then it had fresh cheese that they bought from the farmer. And there was nothing else on it. They just sliced the cheese and stuck it in a hot roll, wrapped it up. We ate those all the way all the way to Germany. And then from Germany to California, 14 hours of flying, those sandwiches, because everything in the plane was toxic for me. And then they had coffee, Italian coffee. And I bought 3 cups, tall, big. And those are what we had all the way across. It's the last bit you can have, and Europe is much more careful with their food products than the United States is. They don't allow super processed. They don't allow any of it. And it's so much better. Even if you do have celiac and have to be careful.
Yeah, no kidding. It was... like I said, it was sort of odd that I could eat basically the same thing and I didn't feel good 6 hours later as it was going through my digestive tract. And so
we've had extra time with the doodle bugs and we've had time to figure out what games we want to play. And we've had time to be, my sister just had a new knee put in yesterday in Chicago, and we've had time to be able to check in on her, which you wouldn't have been able to from a cruise ship.
Right.
And, that kind of stuff. And so that's when loss happens, you adapt and you laugh when you can and you smile when you can and you cry a little bit and you look for new things to think about and go from there.
When the last part is when we were at the airport the second day of our vacation, because we were in Nice, right? Because of never flew into Milan, and we get there and they're very apologetic, say we don't have the plane on time, mechanical problems, it may be 6 o'clock when you fly out, and then it's an hour or so, and that's putting extra pressure on our friend. Well, here it's 12:30 and whatever, and then we may do shuttle buses, but you might not get there till 11 o'clock tonight.
Oh my God.
So Daryl, my best friend Judy, and myself, I go, okay, I need to take a breath. Like, because I'm in a foreign, I mean, it's all like, boosh. And so that's exactly what I did. I recentered. I said, first thing, I'm calling our host. I said, what do you think we should do? And he said, you should take a train. And here's the 2 places you need to go. So what was really good is I sort of went through that recentering process.
Mm-hmm. You had an activity to focus on.
Yes, and then just did this and this. And,
Mm-hmm.
We were in France, we went through Monaco, and the train ride for at least an hour took us all around the French Riviera.
Can you imagine? That would never have happened without that change and that loss.
Right.
And that's amazing.
It was, we just didn't care, felt bad for our host. Yeah. So
But
anyway,
you got to be Monegasque for a day. How cool is that?
an hour.
Yeah. An hour, I'll take it. I was there. Check the box. I was there.
That's right.
Right?
I've been to France.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So anyway, that's the story.
We're reset now.
Yeah, next week, I did want to talk about, if people want to, the last ecstatic days, and we can talk about that later.
That would be amazing. And it's a real thing, and most people don't know about it. And it throws them off because they get that day or those days and they think things have turned around, and what they're seeing is the final goodbye.
It was very interesting. So I'd like to go through that with our viewers. And and Jill, you can, I don't know if you've seen it, you can rent it on Kinema Cinema.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Will do.
All right.
All right, guys. We will see all of you next week. We will be here, and we will not spread COVID because we'll be behind the screen. And we hope you have a wonderful weekend. For those who are about to celebrate Passover, I don't think celebrate's the right word, actually.
Yeah, it
those
is.
who are about to honor Passover. Yes. We'll be thinking of you, and we hope that your seders are loving and cozy.
Exactly.
Bye, everybody.
May your matzo balls be fluffy.